Welcome to the 401k Audit CPA Success Show, where we're 100% focused on helping companies across the United States prepare for their 401k audit. If you have 100 eligible participants in your 401k plan, then this podcast is for you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's podcast. Today is a big, exciting podcast because we want to announce to our listeners some exciting news on the Summit CPA side. So on April 1st, we merged with Anders CPA, which is a top 100 CPA firm based out of St. Louis. And we're really excited about this change, and we want our audience to kind of understand what this change means for our company as well as for our 401k audit side. So today I am joined by two audit partners, obviously one from Summit and one from Anders, but I'd love for them to introduce themselves and kind of give their background. Obviously, you're familiar with Kim, so we'll get to her second, but let's start with you. This is Mark Hinson from Anders CPA.
Thanks, Jamie. As Jamie said, I'm Mark Hinson. I am the audit partner that oversees the audit practice for Anders CPAs Advisors here in St. Louis. We do a wide array of audits. I've been here for 18 years. At Anders. Prior to that, I was a partner in a firm in the Kansas City area, but like most St. Louisans, came home to St. Louis in 2004. So I've been here about 18 years.
Great. And you love St. Louis and you call it home?
Definitely, most definitely. St. Louis is a great city to live and raise a family.
Awesome. Yeah, as part of the merger talks, both Kim and I went there as well as the rest of the team, and were able to experience St. Louis a little bit, and definitely had a really good time and a lot of good food, of course, which a lot of people talk about. But I also had some fun times while we were there. So
yeah, good group of people.
Definitely. All right, Kim.
And I'm Kim Moore. If you've been listening to our podcasts, you know me from having spoken on pretty much all of them. I'm the director here, was at Summit, now part of Anders, and we do exclusively 401k plan audits, which Anders does as well. So it was a good fit from that perspective. Anders does a lot of other types of audits, but they do EBP audits, so it was a good fit. Other than that, I've been here since beginning of 2014. Before that, my background was with a Fortune 250 company, heading up various audit teams, auditing various operations in a financial services company. So a little bit different background than a lot of folks, but here now doing 401k
Great.
audits, and happy to be here.
Definitely. No, we have so as you can hear, we have a lot of audit experience on this call here, and so I think future podcast it'll be nice to get Mark and his team in here as well, just to kind of expand the topics we talk about and really get the depth of the audit experience and the 401k benefit plan experience. So let's talk. Let's start with the differences. So obviously the merger is happening, and we're discovering differences as we go. But let's talk about kind of the differences between the two firms, and especially when it relates to the audit department. So let's throw this question to you first, Kim, and get your thoughts.
Yeah, there's quite a big difference. We kind of talked about similarities a little bit in that we both do audits. We both do 401k audits. But Anders obviously is much bigger than Summit was on the audit side. And so they do quite a number of other different types of audits. And I'll kind of let Mark elaborate on all of that. But they're much bigger, much broader, and do a lot of different things. In terms of the audits themselves, though, if you look inside the audit, some of that is where I think you see the big differences. As we've talked before on these podcasts, the former Summit folk are working remotely, so we're not in an office, working all together. We're working from different locations, and we don't travel to our clients. We do the audits remotely, so we're interacting with them much like this. So on video chats, through email, through other mechanisms that we use as part of our audit. So it's a very interactive experience, but not in person. It's virtual. That's probably the biggest difference, is that we do them remotely, but also we have clients across the country because of that. So I may have a staff person in Ohio working on a client in California, as an example. And we don't assign our audits. Location doesn't matter, so it's really just whoever is available to do the audit. So there can be vast differences in terms of geography of clients versus where we're located. And it really, for our work, doesn't matter. So I think that's kind of the biggest difference.
Mark, any differences that Kim missed there?
I don't know that she missed. She touched on them, but I think, like she said, the biggest difference is we tend to go on site to perform our audits. Still do that. As a result of the pandemic, we made a lot of adjustments though too, and we are actually doing a lot more remote now, especially in our employee benefit plan space. We're not tending to travel for our employee benefit plan audits. We're tending to do those remote. We're still we do a number of just commercial financial statement audits for companies and not-for-profits and governments, things like that. We find that going on site still works best, and we'll travel, across the country at times for those. So there's some more travel involved for our audits. The other thing about our employee benefit plan practice is we do a larger variety of audits than Summit has traditionally done in the past. Summit is focused on 401k. I'll show the limited scope audits, the old terminology rather than the new terminology. I'm still kind of stuck in that pattern. But also maybe some defined benefit plan audits that Summit had done. We have a lot more defined benefit plan audits, as well as we do a lot of multi-employer plan audits for unions that are serving a wide array of employers and number of participants. So we just have probably a broader practice in that area, doing a little bit more variety. But the thing that's been exciting for me anyway is, as Kim and I have gotten to know each other and starting to look at the practice, is really our approach to audit is very similar, which is exciting.
Great. I think that's really exciting. And you mentioned the pandemic, so I have a question about that. So, were you able to figure out how to do an inventory count remotely? Was that something you guys were able to ever figure out?
Well, we actually did do some
Okay.
of that. It was challenging. It came down to, use of FaceTime or, Teams technology on cell phones and iPads is really what it did. And it was a challenge though. And we still did some in-person inventory counts with, full masks and
Yep.
gloves and, fun things like that. But for the most part, when we had to do them remote, it was via FaceTime, using technology
Yeah, I
like
see
that.
the guy walking around with the camera saying, "Okay, there's this number of pies," which is unfortunate because that's really an experience that every auditor needs to experience their first year is being able to stay up till midnight and counting whatever the product is, whether it's pies or bolts or, or whatever it happens to be, because we've all done it.
E- Exactly, exactly. It's one of the joys of entry level
Exactly.
auditing.
And it's kind of fun. I thought it was fun, I guess. So
Well, you got to know the
that's
client
true.
really well because you're right at the heart of what they do
Yeah,
at that
for sure.
point. So it's
Most
definitely a
definitely.
learning experience, that's for
So
sure.
let's go into the benefits. Obviously, a merger happens because it benefits both sides. It's kind of like a marriage. If this would have only been a benefit for Anders, it probably never would have happened, and I think vice versa. So let's talk about how this merger is going to benefit both sides.
Yeah, I think it's it's a good opportunity. I think the biggest thing is to learn from each other. I think that we, as Mark's mentioned, I think we both have a similar approach to the guts of the audit. What's important in an audit, where do you spend your time, how do you document things like that. I think we're all on the same page with that, which is really important. If we weren't, that would have been a big problem, I think, to move forward. But outside of that, I think we're both open to trying to learn from each other, whether that's technical type information from each other. Maybe somebody's done an audit a different way, or an audit that the other hasn't done. Sharing information. I'm looking forward to being able to talk to some of the Anders folks at different times and say, hey, I've got an audit and I see this. I've never seen this before. Have you? Because they may already have kind of gone down that
Mm.
path. There's no point me recreating that if they've already done that. So I think the learning from each other is a big part of this. As auditors, we are kind of learning type people. We don't like to just do the same thing over and over and over again, or we wouldn't be here. So I think it's just a natural component of who we are, and that's going to happen naturally throughout our time together. I also think the expertise that Anders has can help us. We do very limited scope of audits. We don't do the breadth that Anders does. But even in the types of audits that we do, occasionally you'll come up on something that, boy, I wish I had it. Valuation
Hmm.
is the best example I can come up with. That, boy, I wish I had somebody that does valuations, for a living, that I could bounce these ideas off of them instead of me trying to go and do it. That's not my, I know enough about it to get into it, but I'm not the expert there. And I know Anders has folks that do that. So why not let them, help us with those kinds of things? That's one example. I'm sure there's a bunch of others, but and that's kind of what I'm really excited about, is being able to share knowledge across both sides. We've got talented people coming from Summit as well, so I think there's a lot of knowledge to be gained on both sides. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I think that, just from what I've seen, the audit world is changing a lot, right? And I'm sure we see that. And as a smaller firm and as a smaller audit department, we're probably not as up to date on all the changes that are happening, and we're probably not as involved in some of those national audit committees and national audit discussions that are happening with some of the
Right.
bigger firms. And I'm sure Anders is aware of some of the technology that's out there, and I think that'll definitely benefit us as well. What about from your side, Mark?
I think one of the benefits, I think having additional points of view and additional experiences as part of the team is always a positive. And so I'm looking forward to, as Kim alluded to, future interaction as we're trying to resolve um, issues that we run across in engagements. I think we can help each other through that, and use each other's mutual experiences to work through some of those issues. I think the other thing is I'm looking forward to learning from, Summit's experience and Kim's experience working virtually. We successfully transitioned that way, like I referenced earlier, during the pandemic. But that's a much shorter time frame doing it, and we're kind of forced. It was forced upon us to a certain extent, and Summit has been doing that for a long time. So I'm sure they've learned some tricks and tips from an efficiency standpoint, from a communication standpoint, how to stay on top of things, how to keep things moving in a remote environment. And I think that'll be really beneficial. And I think when you combine the progressivity that the progressive nature that Summit has approached things with their audit, combined with our size and resources, and the way that we've tended to do things as a firm, I think we're positioning ourselves to really be a firm of the future, and to be able to tackle some of the things that are coming down the pike, whether it's some of the complicated issues surrounding blockchain, and some of the technology issues that are coming that they indicate are going to transform the audit profession. And I think having greater resources, greater points of view on the team working together is just going to benefit everybody, and move our processes forward quicker.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. So obviously we've talked about the benefits. So it's not all going to be easy. So Mark, I'd like for you to talk about some of the challenges we've seen so far, as well as some of the other challenges we're anticipating seeing over the next 6 months as we figure out how to make this work.
Sure. I think probably one of the biggest challenges is going to be making sure we're dotting I's and crossing T's with regard to licensing. Um, you know, our profession likes to talk a lot about mobility. That's been kind of a buzzword, and how it's easy to work within jurisdictions at different places. And we're finding the state rules are all very different, and it's being directed by various things in various states. So while here in Missouri, a lot of it is based upon where your practice location is, combined with where the client location is. Other states are focused on different, nexus triggers. And so, I know working through who needs a license, who doesn't need a license in certain jurisdictions, and making sure we get that nailed down, and make sure both firms and individuals are licensed in the right place. That's going to be a challenge. And, I think the other thing that I know I've been talking about here with some of our marketing folks is, how we're going to approach, marketing from a standpoint of, Anders has been, a lot of word of mouth, networking, things like that over the years. Summit is definitely a heavily web-based presence, and we have a web-based presence too, but they've just been different approaches. So I think blending those marketing approaches, and learning how to play off each other's approach to the best benefit of the firm going forward, I think will be a challenge. We just have to learn and work through those differences and figure out the best way to get that handled. And I think the biggest thing with any transaction like this is consolidating systems, working through that, and so we're Kim and I have talked about that, and I think we're have a solid plan in place, and going to leave a lot of the individual systems in place for now, and as we work more together and see the benefits of each other's system and how it goes forward, we'll pick and choose what makes the most sense.
Yeah, I think the marketing aspect to me will be really interesting because I think the online marketing, the web marketing works really well for 401k. I think a lot of people, when they find out they need a 401k audit, it's pretty easy just to Google. And the first place you go is Google. Where if it's another audit, which might be a bigger audit or a bank audit, I'm sure you reach out to your resources and be like, okay, I need an audit. Who do I talk to? I'm sure that's not as much of a web-based search, but it'll be interesting to see how much combining those two strategies will expand our customers, because it maybe we'll have more referrals come in from the 401k side. Maybe we'll be interesting to find, maybe there are people that do say, I need an audit, let's Google it, let's find an auditor, and then we'll find a way to connect there. So I think that'll be really interesting.
I think it's
Yeah,
some exciting possibilities.
I agree. I think that the different audits probably need different approaches. I can't see someone needing a commercial 401k audit by Google, or a commercial, financial statement audit, Googling that. That's probably, they might do it just for the fun of it, but I can't see them picking their auditor that way. But, I think there's a lot of other audits that are more commodity type audits that it definitely lends itself to. And it's probably an area that's underutilized right now by other firms.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's definitely scope
Yeah,
for that.
definitely makes sense. Okay, so let's go to some of our listeners now. So I know some of the people that listen to this podcast are clients and Summit clients, and they're hearing this news, and they've already heard this news, and they're like, okay, what does this mean for us? And Kim, I want you to talk about the experience
Mhm.
they've had in the past, and what it will look like in the future, and how it'll be the same, and how it'll be different.
Yeah, and this is going to be pretty short and sweet probably here, because probably they won't see any difference. I mean, they're going to be working with the same folks. If their audit is underway right now, it's going to proceed as it has in the past. So they're going to work with their staff. We're still using our Smart Sheet for anyone who's worked with us. We've talked about Smart Sheet before, and that's how we gather the information that we need from the client, and it's encrypted, so it's a secure platform that we use. We'll continue using that. We're going to continue having access to their platforms with their providers to gather as much information as possible. So the audits will proceed as normal. They're going to get issued as they would have before. The biggest difference they're going to see is when they look inside and they look at what we call the opinion letter. So it's way up at the front of the audit. Where we are, giving our opinion on the audit and describing the work that we did. It's going to say Anders on it instead of Summit, and it will have a Anders signature at the bottom where you would have seen Summit CPA Group. That's going to be your biggest difference. Other than that, things are going to pretty much proceed as normal. As Mark has mentioned, we're looking to consolidate things going down the road, but most of that will not, the client won't see it. So we do our work in a tool that we document our work papers. The client doesn't work in there. They don't see that. It's important for us, but to the client, not really all that important. So a lot of what I think will change going down the road will be seamless as far as the client interaction
And
goes.
you mentioned earlier the expertise, and I think that's something that a lot of the clients won't see, but that's something that they'll hopefully feel. And I know that when I was in audit, I had a partner that always said, you never want to be in the boat alone on a difficult decision. And I think this gives us more breadth and more places to go when it comes to those difficult topics you talked about before, where kind of the buck stopped with you before, Kim. It was like, okay, we have a complicated question come up, like, okay, I'm gonna have to research this myself now. Like you said, said earlier, you've had someone that's experienced
Yeah.
this, you've had someone that has seen this, and you can, say, this is what I'm thinking, but what do you think about this? Like you said, you're not in the boat alone. You have someone there supporting that opinion, which makes you feel a lot better, but also makes you feel like you're getting that right idea out there. So I think that is super important. So over to you, Mark. What do you see for your clients? Any differences for them?
I really don't see any significant differences. Like Kim said, you're going to be dealing with the same audit teams, and we'll be taking the same audit approach. Both firms have a very similar audit approach, so I don't think even as we combine processes and things, I don't see a lot of significant changes even down the line from that standpoint of things. So I think our clients will have the same experience they've had over the years, much the same as Summit's clients will have a similar experience. We really don't see this impacting clients in anything but a positive way. It primarily potentially additional resources being added to engagement teams on both sides. Because while we might be the larger firm, Kim has focused in 401k plan audits for a number of years, and that's all she's done. So she's done a deep dive, and so she's developed expertise there. And with our size and variety, we might have seen some things that she hasn't as well. So we can combine those experiences and end up, like you said, adding more knowledge, more experience to our engagements that will overall benefit the client long term.
Yeah, definitely. No, this is all very exciting, and I know you guys have been working hard together over the last couple months, and maybe even longer than that, to try to figure out the challenges and what everything's going to look like. And I know it's been a long road, and we got a ways to go as well. But very excited for this. And any final thoughts? Anything we missed? Let's start with you, Kim.
I don't think so. I think it's a positive change for everybody. I think it offers more opportunities for my group and additional expertise that we've talked about. I think from the client standpoint, it's nothing but good. I think all of the good things that they like will remain, but now they're hooked in with a bigger firm that offers other opportunities. I mean, who knows? Maybe one of our clients will need another type of audit, and now they don't really have to go look. They can ask us, and I can refer them over, and one of Mark's crew can help with that. So, I mean, I think there's just all good things. I don't see any major changes for anybody that's going to be in a negative way. So, I'm looking forward
Great.
to it.
How about your final thoughts, Mark?
I think I would echo Kim's thoughts. We're very excited about the possibilities. I think something you alluded to earlier, Jamie, about the joint marketing and the results of that, and how that plays into the roles going forward, and the way that impacts our interactions with clients and prospects going forward are some of the really exciting parts of the combination. And well, look forward to getting to know the Summit team better and working together and just moving things forward in a positive manner, and providing additional resources and availability to both firms' clients.
Great. So that's a great summary there, and very excited. So I have one final question for you, Kim. The podcast not
Mhm.
going anywhere, right? It's still gonna be out there for all our listeners.
No, it is not going anywhere. That's right. We're going to continue on, and I know when Mark and I talked, it's probably been a month or two ago. I can't even remember about this, and I know he wants to get some of his folks involved, which is a great thing for us because it's been myself and my manager pretty much trying to carry it forward. So it'll be good to have some other faces and voices and different opinions and different topics. I think we can even expand it into other audit type areas that are not maybe even specific 401k type topics. So there's a lot going on in the accounting world. Leases comes to mind. That's been a not popular. Everybody hates it, but it's been a topic on everybody's mind. So, I mean, I think there's opportunity to do podcasts on things that are not specific to 401k, too, that we can do with the Anders folks, and I can maybe just be a moderator instead of having to talk all of the podcast, which will be nice. It'll be a nice change for me. So, but yes, it will definitely continue on. And for those who might be listening for the first time, we do these monthly. and we try to get topics of interest. And I know, Jamie, you always throw out the email address if people have either questions about something that we talk about, and maybe we refer to something that they'd like a copy of a document or something, or if you have ideas for a future podcast that, hey, could you talk about this? I'm really interested in this. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, that email address, so Kim teed me up perfectly, is audit@summitcpa.net. So AUDIT at SUMMIT CPA.net. So yeah, definitely excited to hear from you, and yeah, especially now that we have a larger group to choose from for in terms of topics. We'd love to hear what kind of topics you guys want to hear. So yeah, super excited for this merger and this announcement, and hopefully get some new listeners to this podcast because of the merger as well. So yeah, thanks everybody for listening, and have a great day.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks.
Enjoy this podcast? Visit our website at anderscpa.com/401k to get more tips and strategies for achieving 401k audit success. We're here to be a resource with ever-changing rules and regulations.